So, you're looking for the truth, huh? Well, let me tell you. Today is the day that the truth will be revealed. And that's not an arrogant statement by me. Rather, today literally is the day. Because today is Lag BaOmer. What is Lag BaOmer? Where does the truth come from? Does anybody know the truth? I saw a bumper sticker the other day, and it was that an entire internet, and I can't find the truth. And the truth is that anybody that's looking for the truth, it's very, very hard. I spent years and years and years looking for the truth, and I found it. However, it's a very big subject, and I would have to say one of the great examples brought down from one of the great masters, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Ladi. So he says like this, he says, just like there are many, many, many different flavors in food, there are many pleasures. So we're all looking for this like Holy Grail. This is it. But what if it's many things? What if many things give the Creator pleasure? Obviously, we have to serve some kind of pleasurable purpose because nobody does anything unless it gives them pleasure. And so God obviously had to receive some type of pleasure from us, and that is why we exist. But it doesn't have to be one pleasure. It can be many pleasures. And so let me share with you on this very holy day the revelation of the secrets of the Torah. So billions of people revere the Bible as the Word of God, but behind the Bible, there's an entire hidden dimension which began to be revealed. It was taught for thousands of years in great secret. Only in the last couple hundred years, parts of it have been revealed by the great masters, and I've been very fortunate to be brought up in a movement that not only studies the Torah, the revealed Torah, but also the secrets of the Torah. And as I went on my search for the truth, thank God, eventually I was able to come back to this wisdom after searching through philosophies and what's the ideas of different religions, and certainly secularism has nothing to offer. So I was able to, at least I had the skill set. I can open these books, and I was able to look at it with new eyes because I had looked at psychology and everything, and I saw it was all meaningless. And now I was able to find the meaning. So the truth be told, it's infinite. Infinite literally means it's infinite. There will be more truth revealed to us all the time. But I'm just going to share with you 5 things which are supreme truths. And if you start off with these 5, you'll be doing pretty well. So the first benefit that we give to God, something that God doesn't have without us, is unity. God is one. But if a man and woman have love, that creates something greater than the individuality. Why do people want friendship? Because love is greater than singularity. You could be a very lonely billionaire. It means nothing. But if you have connection and love, it means everything. And so the sum is greater than its parts. So God created parts, and when we love each other, and love is not like I use you. Love is I'm there for you. Real love. That is a pleasure that God gets. The other thing that ironically we have that God doesn't have is the ability to continuously grow. Because God is perfect. And perfection doesn't have reason to grow. But we are imperfect. Now, what makes us imperfect? What makes us imperfect is a very fundamental of who we are. And it may be very painful for you to hear this, but this is the truth. The fundamental being that we are is somebody that is in love with their power. Because what happens with a child is that the child is born and the child begins to cry and he gets something. Now, from the child's perspective, he doesn't know that the reason his mother is feeding him is because the mother identifies with him. The mother sees the child as my child. She has compassion on him. From the child's perspective, he doesn't know mom. He has no idea that it's a mother. He has a mother. He's just basically a little creature on earth. So all he knows is I cry, and this big, in his eyes, giant comes to me. That's why a spoiled child expects everyone to give them everything, because that's the reality. The big people, they give me things. Now, it's not the only part of who we are. We also have God within us. We have compassion, and we love helping people. We can be hurt by the pain of others. But fundamentally speaking, the ego part of us, the delusional part of us, the part of us that loves getting our way. Do you like getting your way? I like getting my way. Why do I like getting my way? Because it confirms my subconscious delusion, my addiction, or my pleasure of my power. So I've got a problem, and you have a problem, because that addiction is evil. Because truth is about love. Love is about what I can do for you, not what you can do for me. And certainly love is not about being dominant over someone. And so therefore we have a fundamental war between, in a way, the core of ourself and the higher part of ourself, the God part, the soul part of ourselves. And we all go through this war every day of our lives. And, everybody's, I should have done that. Could have been nicer here. And even the most sadistic person, when they die, Chavez, before he died, he regretted his horrible actions, because suddenly he's not going to have more power. He's going to be dead. And what's he left with? Shame. And so we have this capacity, a very unique capacity, which in fact is quite interesting. No animal, and going mystically speaking even deeper, even angel has this power. And that's the power to change our behavior. And the reason we have this is because between the God part of us, kind of the soul part, and the body part of us, the ego part of us, there's something else that we have. In fact, no animal has it. It's called a mind. And you may say, well, animals have minds, but they don't have independent minds. Their minds are based on their egos, their desires. Our mind, quite even physically, has a prefrontal lobe. Even apes don't have it. And the prefrontal lobe, as they call it today, executive functioning, I hate these words of psychology because they don't explain anything. But the prefrontal lobe gives us the ability to basically determine our behavior. So, for example, I like chocolate, and it's very hard for me not to have sugary chocolate. But if I really decide not to have sugary chocolate, I can do it in an instant. Why is it that people, unfortunately drug addicts, they'll hit rock bottom and suddenly they'll change? What happened yesterday? You didn't know drugs was bad for you? Or God forbid somebody goes to an operation. That's it. The guy's going to start exercising. You didn't know that yesterday? Yesterday, you didn't care. You knew it, but you didn't care. Today, you care. So when your desire to change is there, your power to change is there. Now, an animal doesn't have the capacity to overcome itself. If an animal, literally, they can get addicted to drugs and take it till death, they can't stop themselves. There's nothing in them that will say, it's just a stupid thing to do. I think I'm going to change. Anybody that's ever changed has exercised self-discipline. And we all know self-discipline is quite difficult. I want to give you a little tip in self-discipline. Here's how it goes. All you need to do is tell yourself what to do. Because the way we discipline ourselves is through telling ourselves what to do. It's like the horse if you have ever ridden a horse, you're holding the reins. So you got to go like this. The horse knows it goes here. You go like this, it goes there. So you actually have to tell yourself this is what you have to do. And sometimes your body is very arrogant. It says, no, I want to do my thing. So you have to shout at yourself, do it now. So you can see that will kind of frighten the body. And then once you gain control, once the horse knows that it has a master, you're 99% possible of controlling your body. It's taken me a long time to get self-control. But thank God, I would say, probably have 99% self-control. I don't think anybody can say they have 100%. It's almost impossible. But 99% is not bad. And self-control is really important. So, what's the bottom line? We can grow. Now, this is a very critical point. This is perhaps the greatest secret of them all. In order for growth to be infinite, right? So, you can grow infinitely. You can always transform, always become greater. In order for this to happen, you need something infinite. You could never grow infinitely. I'm going to use an example. I don't like using examples of myself, but it's a good example, so I'm going to use it. When I started first, I guess you'd call it blogging. At that time, I had like an email kind of list. And I started off with that, and I thought, how many concepts do I know? How many unique concepts? I don't know, 10 concepts? Okay. But I found that somehow, and to this very day, I've put out over 60,000 blogs. You know what that means? Think about what it means to put out 100 concepts. Think about 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. Can't say they're all different. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of repetition, but I think it's fair to say that 30,000 are unique. There's no way that I have the capacity to come up with 30,000 unique ideas. I don't. However, God chose me to do this. And so therefore, He just gives me great ideas. Now, where did these ideas come from? To be perfectly frank with you, I've got no idea. However, they do come. And the fact is, you go to my website, KabbalahWisdom.org, they're there. You can read them. So the point is that we exist within an infinite cloud. We see the finite realm. But really the finite realm is in the infinite realm. And this is really what quantum physics says. You think you see reality. The finite world that you see is hiding the infinite world that is creating it. And this is a fact, a quantum physics fact. Infinity creates the finite. It's not that your imagination creates what you see. Your perception makes it happen. No, the infinite made you and made your perception. And therefore it can make infinite perceptions. All you need to do is open your eyes to infinite possibilities. And one of the ways we do this is something that the Baal Shem Tov taught. The Baal Shem Tov said, every single moment, or to be more accurate, I'll say it as he said it. He said that everything we see and hear, and as the Rebbe adds, sometimes things we think, is a message from God. In other words, I don't know, you randomly saw an ad. That was a message. Now, I'm going to give you an example for myself, if I may. So when I heard this idea, truth be told, I knew the idea, but when I really decided to do it, I spent about 2 weeks, and everything I would obsess. What's the message? What's the message? But you know what happens when you exercise a part of your psyche or something? Let's say like language. First couple of years, you're learning words, or even if you're learning a new language, but eventually, you don't have to think about it. It comes automatically. And the same thing is with me now. It's just one of the habits that I have. Whenever I see anything, there's a part of me that says, what is the lesson? And I learn something from it. So now I'm not the only one that does this. Many people do it. And it's a magical life. I mean, I know for sure that I could live anywhere in the world, any place, and I'd have a great life. You know why? Because life is always innovative. One of the bad things about life is when it becomes boring. That's why people are try to go on a vacation, they try to do this. They're trying to escape boredom. But what if every minute of every day you're learning something extraordinary? Something that's so great you never heard this before, and it's so incredibly meaningful that it transforms you. So that's the most amazing experience you can have. This is what's called, in Kabbalistic wisdom, Yelchu Mechayel El Choyel. You go from level to level. So sure, there are first steps. First step, obviously, God gave us the Bible. For the Jews, there's 613 commandments. For the Gentiles, there's 7 Noahide laws. However, the thing is, growth, communication from God, transformation, that's a big thing, is infinite. And it all depends if you're open to infinity. And it's not an easy thing to do. Let me share with you that in a certain sense, it's like you have to see yourself on a boat. And what happens is you're passing by these little atolls. They're like, it's not even an island. It's like imagine like a little round lily pond or something. You're passing by. And as you pass by each one, a fairy hands you a gift. That's what life is like. Every person you meet, everything you see, sure, it could be just based on your preconceived notions of reality. And then it's limited in that box. But if you get yourself out of that box and you say, okay, well, God is communicating through this message, through this ad, and He's teaching me something. So then you begin to ask yourself, what is the lesson in life? What is the growth from this? And then you're in your boat, and fairies are handing you gifts, gift after gift after gift, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, in an infinite way. My friends, it's a very beautiful way to live. And in a way, this is something that, if you want to call it, God vicariously has from us, because He can grow infinitely. He's perfect. But we do need to grow infinitely. We have to overcome some of our selfishness, as mentioned, and get into growth. A third thing that we do, that in a certain sense, God can't do, even though God's doing this all the time, but in a certain sense, when we do it, there's something very special to it, is giving, is helping. Right? God infinitely creates. However, in a certain sense, for God to give, there's no challenge. But if I see someone who's hungry, and I take out, I do it properly, I take out $10, so here. Now, I'm not a rich man. For me, $10 matters. I could have used that money on me, but I used it on you. That's called sacrifice. So we can sacrifice. Now, as a parent, I'm sure hopefully you have children. What makes us proud of our children? It's not their achievements. It's not the fact that the child is if your child's a millionaire, doesn't matter. But if your child is a giver, if your child has a heart, they could be 2, and they could hand their friend a candy, and you're like, you're so proud, look at this kid. He's such a nice person. That's what makes us happy. And the same thing is for God. When He looks down, He knows us. He made our evil, or let's call it our narcissism, our selfishness. He knows our fears. And when we overcome ourselves and we give that money, we don't only think about getting love, we think about giving love. We don't only think about getting knowledge, we think about giving knowledge. In fact, that's why God chose Abraham. There are other great righteous people. But he knew that Abraham would be concerned about others. He would teach his family. He was concerned. He was a lover of people. That's the kind of person God loves, the giver. And so the ability to sacrifice is a very great thing. The fourth thing that God gains out of this world is the fact that God, if you, so to say, enable him, becomes a giver to you. I like to say the nature of a good-hearted person is to love giving. God loves giving. Now, the greatest thing that he can give to you is himself. Infinite love and wisdom. In order for there to be a relationship, the very first premise is that two people have to want to relate. If somebody wants to marry me and I want to marry them, there's a possibility. If I'm not interested in marriage and they want me, or vice versa, there's no possibility. So, for you to allow God to guide you, right? What does a parent want? And the parent-child relationship is very similar to the God-child, you are his child relationship. So as a parent, what do I want? So first of all, we want our children to be happy. We want them to be safe. We want them to have their needs. But actually, as mentioned before, we want to have nachas. We want to have pride that they're moral, they're good people. That's what truly gives us pride. And we want to impart the lessons in life that we have learned. We want to not coerce them, but we want to share our knowledge so they have the ability to make their lives meaningful. And that's what God wants. I want to share with you something that completely transformed my life. I read this in a book, great book, I really recommend, 365 Meditations. And in that book he says, if you don't know what to do, ask God. And the first thought is God's reply. And subsequent to that, I realized that this is actually how the great Rebbes would answer. And these were people that received, like the Lubavitch Rebbe received more mail than the President of the United States. 3 sacks of mail every single day. And he would try to answer them. So he talked about tens of thousands, if not more, letters, personally read, answered, amazing stuff. And yet, how did he do it? How did he know what to answer? Those were just kind of as longer. Later, it was so much he would give one sentence answers. And that's because he had this system, this intuition from God. And this intuition is available to all of us. You just have to ask. And it's not an emotional reaction, but it's a thought. Thoughts are real. You're either thinking yes or you're thinking no. It's not a feeling, it's a thought. And you can try this. You know, a lot of people will tell you what to do, but I'm giving you advice on how to do it. This is something, if it works, you do it and it works for you, then it's real. You know, what is science? What is medicine? Nobody knows why this drug does that, but we know that it does. What's the difference? Why? And so here's something that you can try. And God wants to guide you. So last but not least, this is very, very important. Just like all these things we spoke about were positive things. How to love, how to give, how to have unity. The opposite is also true. What does God not want? Well, he doesn't want us to be cruel. In fact, the greatest sin that exists is to shame another human being. So, the greatest mitzvah in the Torah is the Bible that has 613 commandments. The greatest commandment is love your friend as yourself. Well, what does it mean, as yourself? Why doesn't God say love your friend as much as yourself? Why does he say as yourself? Because how do we love ourselves? Well, we love ourselves unconditionally. Even if I do something wrong, I'll still be happy to eat tomorrow. I don't say, well, you're so bad you don't deserve any money or any food. It doesn't work like that. Okay, I made a mistake. That's how you have to love someone else. What does that mean? Don't judge them. And conversely, every positive commandment has a prohibition. What's the prohibition? It's called leisisno esachicha b'lvavecha. Do not hate someone in your heart. In other words, there was once a Gentile who came to Rabbi Hillel, who was the leader of the Jewish people at his time, very great rabbi. And he said to him, tell me the entire Bible while I stand on one foot. He was really saying, what's the foundation of Judaism? What is Judaism? So he said to him, Mada Allah soni l'chavrecha al tavid. That which you don't want someone to do to you, don't do to them. So the question is, why didn't he say the positive? That which you want someone to do to you, I don't know, charity, love, whatever. Because the most important thing in life, forget about all the good things, don't shame someone. Because no matter what I do to you, I don't want you to shame me. So to shame someone, what is hateful to us is to be shamed. Now, I understand if I steal, God forbid, money from you and you steal it back. I get it. But under no circumstance, ironically, even if I shame you, do I want to be shamed back. That's just the way it is. It's a very terrible, horrific example, but it comes to my mind because I saw it yesterday. But there was a lady, she has a YouTube video, a TED Talk, she's a reporter, obviously quite a clever lady. Anyway, so she interviewed the serial killer. So it turns out that he, not to say that it's justified, but to say that this is how things happen. He was badly abused by his father. And ironically, he was filled with rage. Not ironically, obviously. And you see, and this is a critical thing to understand. What is the reason? What is the real reason why people shame other people? Why people abuse other people? Why people coerce other people? Because that's just a form of abuse. Nobody wants to be coerced. So if I'm forcing you, whether it's through guilt, whether it's literally, there's something wrong in me. There's something sadistic in me. And the answer is jealousy. You see, when a person is angry, then they're jealous of the person who isn't angry. You know, we all know, we probably have experienced being bullied, as studies show. So there's an obvious question. We all love love. We all like friendship. Even the bully has a part of him that wants friendship and love. So what causes someone to hurt someone that they were not hurt? To shame somebody that didn't shame them? And the answer is the fact that that person is not in pain. Because that is jealousy. It's not fear. Why should I feel pain while you don't feel pain? And that's why there's anti-Semitism in the world. You know, they asked the Japanese, really a remarkable thing. The Japanese are a closed society. They don't really have much to do with anyone else, certainly for thousands of years. And so therefore they don't really have any reason to hate anyone. Nobody's done anything to them. And they asked the Japanese, if you had to hate someone, who would you hate? And guess what? It was the Jews. Because are the Japanese happy people? They're not happy. Because in order to be happy, you have to feel accepted. And in order to feel accepted, you can't feel afraid of making a mistake. The fear of being judged. Listen very carefully to this. It's taken me a decade to understand this. It's very, very simple. But it's at the core of what runs societies. There are societies like the German society. Now, how do they produce such sadistic killers? Well, it happens to be, till this very day, Germany is not so much on a physical level, but on a psychological level, a sadistic society. They're very intolerant. And when you use shame and even worse, physical abuse to create behavior, what happens is the individual begins to feel enraged, because we all have a sense that I'm a human being. I should be respected. I should be treated with dignity. Why are you using coercive measures? You can talk to me. I'll try to listen. I'm not malicious. I'm not bad. And so eventually what occurs is that this internal rage and anger becomes a jealousy of those who don't have it. And that's why it's just such a simple proof. But let's use the Arabs. The Arabs are a horrific society, tremendously sadistic. And so the people in the Arab society, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them, and you can ask any Arab, and there are many books that they've written on this, but so they feel a jealousy to the Jewish people. Why? Because the Jewish people are a loving society. Now, of course, there are bad apples, but generally speaking, it's a loving society. And I want to sum it up. The summary is that the things that make God happy are unity, is growth, is the ability to teach us and to educate us. It's when we give, and it's also because God knows our rage. He knows what it means to be hurt. He made the system. He knows that we have an ego. He made our ego. He knows, which is why he tells us don't shame people. And how do we practically get over our pain, get over our suffering, and get out of it and become the people that we wish to be, which is nice, loving people? And it's only through understanding that the only way somebody hurts someone else is not only were they hurt by someone else, but their behavior pattern is based on fear of shame. Just remember that. Those who hurt others, but they seem to be decent people, their behavior pattern is based on fear of criticism and shame. And so therefore, when they're interacting with the world, what are they feeling? Are they feeling loved? Or are they feeling judged? Are they feeling, yay, another human being? Or like 5% of America, or much more in Japan, they're, oy vey, another human being. Yay, an opportunity for friendship? Or, oh my gosh, an opportunity to be shamed. And so we can build an entire, I don't want to use words of psychology, because again, often they're labeling and they're not good, but I'm just going to use it anyway and explain it. Narcissistic, which again, it's just a label. We all can become narcissistic. It's a shield, it's a defense mechanism. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism against shame. It's all fear of shame. So, you and I today are going to make the world a beautiful place. We're going to make God happy. We're going to realize that all we love is love. And we despise shame. We disagree with shame. And if we see somebody being shaming, we will walk over to the person shaming and say, you know, that's not a right thing to do. We'll tell the person that was shamed, I'm really sorry you were shamed. That was not correct. That's all people need to hear. They need to hear that they're okay, that they're not the person that the other person is making them out to be. And the most important thing I want you to do right now is I want you to tell yourself this message. I never deserved to be shamed. No one deserves to be shamed. And therefore, I understand that anything that ever occurred to me was for my growth, because life is infinite and growth is infinite. And sometimes my outer ego and narcissism had to be broken. It takes a diamond, the hardest material, to break a diamond. So it took an ego to break my ego. But be that as it may, now that my God part has descended into me, transformed me, and become me, from now on, I will be a loving angel.